Welcome back to our channel once again, guys. This weekend, it's primarily yard work on my end. As you can see, it's been raining quite a bit, and that means grass and more grass growing up everywhere, particularly in places where no grass is needed. So, the challenge I have here is that I have grass growing on top of some really beautiful white pebbles that I'd put in sometime last year. So as you can see, as I pull out the grass, the pebbles are sort of disappearing. So I still need to get out the grass while not messing up my beautiful pebbles. So I think maybe the next time I'm gonna have to use chemicals to get rid of the grass, because all the hard work that I've done with the white pebbles is now not visible. But nonetheless, I still have to clean up this place. The other thing that is interesting, you notice that rectangular hole right on the wall. That is my crawl space. There is an access point below the house. And interesting enough, my neighbor's cats have made it their business to really get into my crawl space using this space. And no matter how much I block it, somehow they still find their way through this space. They remove the cover and get inside. So I think I'm going to need to do something about it before other animals start finding their way in there. Nonetheless, it's cleaning time. Now, you notice the Kenyan in me is resisting the idea of using gloves. I know some folks have commented that I keep on doing yard work without gloves, but the Kenyan in me is still very powerful. That it doesn't bother me one bit to pull grass without gloves. In fact, where I grew up, that would be considered a sign of weakness. And then you've got this interesting weed. I don't know what you call it, but it's really hard to get rid of. So I guess I'm going to have to just continue pulling it out one at a time. And of course, as you can see, right next to me, my faithful assistant has to accompany Daddy. Although I think at this point, she's giving me more work than I intend. But the first step is to just let them watch. And then as they grow older, I hope they'll be joining me in doing all this cleaning work. So where I'm cleaning here right now is where a lot of the pipes for the lawn sprinkler system are connected. So it's one of those areas that I can't even use a weed eater if I wanted to, because otherwise I'm going to cut some wires, some really thin wires that control the sprinkler. And that's why, for the most part, I just have to do this by hand. Now, besides the trash that is littered all over the place, you'll notice some really cutely done rocks. Now, that is thanks to my faithful assistants. Usually, when they're out playing in the yard, there's a lot of artwork that goes on, and part of it I just noticed is kids drawing faces on rocks. So I kind of like this. So this will stay here, but the grass still has to go. As you can tell, this is really not a whole lot of work. Essentially, it's just keeping up with this tiny grass, pulling them out, and making sure that the yard looks relatively neat. This does not really compare to the amount of yard work that we did growing up. And so I have no problem doing this. And that's why I don't need to hire somebody to do this. In fact, if I was to hire somebody to do this, I would probably pay them about $100 for something that essentially would take me about 20 minutes. So again, this is where the Kenyan in me says, hey, get out and get the job done. Don't mind my smiling butter shoes. Those who've been to Kenya recently would probably recognize the shoes that I'm putting on. There's some plastic shoes from a very popular shop that we call Bata. In fact, for the longest part, I thought Bata was a Kenyan factory. But then it turns out it was actually an original European, probably Czech shoe company. But it's really been around East Africa for a long time, to the point where we almost thought it was a Kenyan company, but it's not. So last time I was home, I bought these plastic shoes that now are falling apart. These things don't last. They've got holes all over the place. But anyway, they come in handy for outdoor work. I know my wife needs me to throw them away, but for me, as long as my feet can fit in, I'll keep using them till God knows when. Now, my faithful assistant is also really interested in flowers. For some reason, she's really fascinated by flowers. Anywhere we go, there are flowers, she'll be pulling them out and talking about the colors and all that, which on the one hand is exciting in the sense that she gets to learn about colors, nature, and all that. But as I say, that often gets her into touching stuff that she probably shouldn't be touching. Not too long ago, she was trying to get some kind of a flower and ended up pricking her finger on a sisal leaf. And those who know what that is, that sometimes can be a not so fun experience. But in a sense, it's either way, it's not bad, because I think this is one way of learning. Educators would call that experiential learning. You learn by doing. The hope is that as they grow older, it'll become second nature, getting hands dirty. So then at this point, I realized I probably did not have the right tools. And so, of course, in Kenya we say, mi ni nani. You can always improvise. So lacking tools does not mean I'm not going to do it. So I've just grabbed my knife and just started trimming this flower that grows so wild that if you leave it untrimmed for a little while, it just turns into a huge mess. So every 2 to 3 weeks, I have to cut off excess branches and leaves from it. Otherwise, this place just turns into a small little jungle. One of the nice things about yard work, something I personally enjoy about yard work, is that it's a good opportunity to spend some time out on the sun. One of the shocking things that many of us from Africa experience is the idea that for the first time in your life you realize you can be deficient of vitamin D. Back in Kenya, I would be out every single day. I'm on the sun every single day, and I don't think vitamin D was ever a concern. And then, of course, we moved into this part where the sun is so precious, it's not guaranteed every day. So while I'm lucky I live in California, where I get more sun than many other places in the US, in the last, I would say, 10 years or so, my vitamin D levels have been really low. And that comes with its own sets of problems. Part of it, you notice your mood is not where it typically should be. And so actually my doctor recommended a very high dose of vitamin D supplements, which initially I did not want to take. In fact, I don't think I filled in my first prescription. And so over the years, I've made it a point to spend as much time as I can out in the sun, which helps with vitamin D. But here and there, I take supplements. So my levels are much better than they were a few years back. So those of you who are not out in the sun as much, the next time you go for physical, feel free to check your vitamin D levels. It's one of those things that can be really problematic and you don't realize until it's really gone that far. So doing yard work for me is amazing in the sense that not only am I moving around, but I'm also increasing exposure to the sun. However, though, I've noticed that the longer I've lived away from Africa, the more sensitive I am to the sun. I don't think I ever had any sunburn living in Kisumu. But after a few years living on this side of town, whenever I'm on the sun for a whole day, for example, when we do like a beach day, a day later I notice quite a bit of sunburn, especially on my forehead and my bald head. Again, of course, many years ago, I had hair all over, but now with my bald head, I notice quite a bit of sunburn. So there's that difficult balance between getting enough sunlight outside and taking care not to roast yourself. So next you see my trusted push more. This thing is really nice in the sense that it barely uses gas. In fact, I've used it now for about 5 years. And in that time, I think I've only bought 2 cans of gas. I don't know how many gallons, but I've only bought gas twice in the 5 years that I've used it. Now, considering the fact that I cut my grass pretty much every 2 weeks, I think that's fairly efficient. For a gas-powered lawnmower, it's fairly efficient. But nonetheless, out here cutting grass, besides being out in the sun, the other advantage is that that's when you interact with neighbors who are walking past. Because again, unlike in other spaces where we go visit neighbors anyhow, where I live, that option is not that much available. So when I'm out cutting grass, chances are there's somebody running, walking dogs, and all that stuff. And so it's very easy to interact with folks while doing yard work. So all in all, I would do this any day. Because I know I have the option of hiring somebody to do this. And thankfully here in Southern California, there's a lot of lawn care business folks who are fairly affordable. And so, in fact, all of my neighbors hire people to cut their grass, in part because they're mostly old folks, but also because this is not an expensive thing. So on my part, while I'm still strong enough, I'll take in all the advantages that come with being outside, interacting with neighbors, getting some sunlight, and of course, hopefully allowing my little ones to see that it's very normal for folks to get their hands dirty. And what I'm hoping is that my daughter will be joining me in doing this. I don't want them growing up thinking that, oh yeah, you see my neighbor across the street on the other side. I know when he's coming back, he's going to run past my side of the street. And so these are the times we stop by and chit chat and get to hear what's going on and just catch up and get to know folks. So it gives you some sense of a social life in a place where that would not otherwise be possible. Because most folks are marooned in their homes homes, work, and within their close network of folks. Well, I think that will be it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching our video. I really appreciate folks who take the time and those who enjoy the kind of content we produce. If you find my content interesting, feel free to subscribe. Yeah, you don't have to share, but if you can subscribe, that'll do it. Thank you again, and have a lovely evening, morning, or night, depending on where you are. Okay, bye.